Interactive Wrestling Radio. Hello everybody and welcome to the anniversary edition of the Interactive Interview on the interactiveinterview.com, courtesy of ProWrestling.com, statistically the #1 wrestling website on the internet today.
James can't speak.
I've been drinking. No, I haven't, but I sure sound like it. Alright, so I'm James Walsh, and our special guest today is Daniel Edler.
Should we just explain, shall we?
Hey Dan, before we get started, can I ask you for a favor?
Yeah, sure.
Would you mind doing us a header, basically saying, hey, this is Daniel Edler, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview?
Yeah, not a problem, sure, yeah.
Want me to count you down?
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2.
You know this is Daniel Edler, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Alright, that's very cool, thank you.
Excellent, no problem, no problem.
Okay, the first question we've got for you is, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Who were some of your favorites?
Some favourites? Well, as I was growing up, probably Shawn Michaels would have been my main favourite. I just enjoyed the spectacle he put on and things like that. I mean, I did enjoy the Isaac Yankem character as well for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, I just did. So, I'd run with Isaac Yankem, the fake Undertaker. I enjoyed that whole angle and was always rooting for the fake Undertaker.
Brian Lee.
Brian Lee, indeed, yeah, changed whatever. Always them and Shawn Michaels.
Really? Very interesting. Now, did Isaac Yankem's character inspire you to want to be a dentist at all?
No. I was inspired by his teeth. A man with such wonky teeth could be a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inspiration to all. So that was good. He was a good character. But no, not to be a dentist. I've always wanted to do something involving talking or computers.
The talking. Now, which are you better at? Are you better at talking or are you better at typing?
Oh, I'm way better at typing. I can type hugely fast.
Very interesting. You can talk.
Talker, I think.
You sound like a pretty good talker. Now, let me ask you, since you want to do something in talking, do you get annoyed with some angry Americans who can't understand you?
It doesn't annoy me so much. Fair enough if they can't understand me, that's fine. What annoys me is American ignorance in maybe not understanding phrases and whatnot. Americans should be try and be a bit more multicultural, I think. Us Brits are pretty multicultural. We understand most of the American slang terms and whatnot, so it just annoys me when you don't. Not you specifically, you as in America.
Now, what would be an example of an American slang term?
I couldn't tell you off the top of the head. If you used a couple of examples, I could tell you what they mean, I'd imagine.
I honestly don't know if I could know any that would be strictly American. I mean, you're the one who has on the forums is bling bling, which is a phrase that I think stemmed from America, but I never actually used it.
Yep, indeed it did come from America. It was suggested to me by an American person. So,
okay, very interesting. So, at what point did you start to create three-strand wrestling?
Basically, it was back in 1996, I think it was. I went to an internet cafe and found the internet for the first time. And so I went on the internet and my dad went in and paid for me, so I got free internet time for a couple of hours and really enjoyed it. So I spent a lot of my savings and the pocket money that I'd saved up either on football cards, little stickers, or on the internet at the internet cafe. And I got to be friends with the guy who ran. A friend of mine who I was friends with at school showed me this whole interactive wrestling thing, which is an eFed. And so I really enjoyed that. So I did a huge long role play and really got into it. Had my character all set out and everything. And I never...
What was your character's name?
Oh, God knows if I can remember. He was part of a tag team called the Death Squad.
Aha.
With my friend who showed me, obviously. And we did that, and then unfortunately I never ended up doing a show. So we did that, and it was all in vain. So I got annoyed and typed an angry email saying, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." Cause, I mean, that was 5 years ago now, so I was 13
right.
at the time. So I'm a young kid. I was just saying, "Oh, I hate you for doing this, blah, 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 not doing the show. I'm going to start my own one." I said, go on then, start your own one, I'll see if I care. So I did, and I went off and started one, and learned basic HTML, played around with Angel Fire, that's how I got to start online. Then I did two sites. I did a basic eFed and a basic wrestling site. And I stole lots of content from different sites, including a site I later went on to work for, ridersref.com. I stole a lot of information from there without credit and put it on there. Got a few hits, not very many, because obviously back then I couldn't promote it. And then that sort of emerged into three-strand wrestling when I spoke to a guy named Mike Franey, who was a reporter for Lords of Pain and for Rise of WWF.
Now, Lords of Pain, are they aware that it's also a gay website?
It is?
LordsOfPain.com is a gay website, and then there's LordsOfPain.net, which is apparently a wrestling website.
Well, I don't want to make any judgments on Calvin.
Okay.
But,
Except he said you look spectacular.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
But, so I met this Mike Franey, and he taught me how to be a news board reporter, which I still do to this day, 5 years later, somehow.
And how in the hell did you end up, sorry to cut you off, but how did you end up getting on all these other websites?
Basically, I learned how to get onto my first website, which was PWI. Not the PWI you'll be thinking of, a different PWI.
Okay.
I started working with them, and this guy called DDW and Mark Middleton. And I would say hi now to Mark, but Mark's now in prison. So, first influence is a guy who's in prison and a guy who isn't on the internet anymore. But I worked there, and then Mike said, Mike showed me how to be a real reporter, and introduced me to all of the actual news board reporters, such as Matthew Boone, and back then it was Fred Cook and Randy Marston and Joey D'Ambrose and people like that.
Right.
And so I got introduced to all those sort of people who were the big news board reporters back then. Sucked up to them for a couple of years. Then got in positions of power where I could kind of have a bit of power over them and use that to my advantage to get into a better spot. Kind of wiggle my way up, and you people won't understand it, but there's a core sort of main reporter, about sort of 10 reporters, and you kind of pick and choose between them who you want to sign. There's some other people you find, like random people who work on one or two sites, not that good, but they post a lot or whatever. You kind of pick and choose your news board, and I became one of the main people pretty quickly. And then I posting a lot during the summers when I didn't have much to do. Got some good reporting URLs, and right now I'm officially, if you forget the sources, forget One Wrestling and Wrestling Observer and all those sort of sources, if you count all the fan sites and the fan news boards, I'm officially the biggest, as in on the most big good websites, news board reporter out there, because I post for WrestleZone, ProWrestling.com, and quite a lot of other places. I mean, basically, if you're listening to this interview now, I'm guessing it's probably because I posted it on the news board of a website I report for.
Wow.
That'd be it. That'd be the reason. That'd be how.
Now let me ask you a question here. At what point did you start posting on all these websites?
Back in 1998.
1998. So let me ask you, in around 2001, about February or so, when there was all those rumors about WCW being sold, and then when it eventually was sold, I remember going to WrestleZone.com, and I put this over on WCW Live, and they actually kicked me off the show because of it. I said this because I was quite pissed off. On WrestleZone.com, there was two posts, one by Daniel Edler, and one by a guy named Fred Cook. One saying WCW sale blocked, Bischoff to get it. The other said WWE due diligence. Literally right on top of each other. Do you remember getting an angry email from a stupid American named James Walsh saying, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
No, I don't. I receive countless angry emails for different things, such as fake links on the bottom of news posts, and the amount of pop-ups on Three-Strand Wrestling, and this, that, and the other. Sort of the countless things that I've clearly wronged thousands of people in my time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember individual names now. If it's negative feedback, if it's positive feedback, I sometimes remember. And if it's people that can help me out, I probably remember your names.
Well, what I also remember from before we started working together was chair shots.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up working for chair shots?
Basically, Rod was looking to fill positions on the news board. And this was back in about 2001, I'd say, or quite early. It must have started about 2001. Someone told me, someone said, no, chair shot is hiring. So I said, oh yeah. So back then, I haven't done this since about the end of 2001. I don't send in like applications anymore. But I sent in an application to a website saying, can I post for you? I've done this. I've reported to these websites. Yada yada yada. Here's a sample, and here's how often I post. You know, just the information that he'd probably want to hear, not maybe the information that was truthful. And I got hired. And so yeah, so like all the other websites, just posted them in as I reported it, etc. So that's how I got hired for Chair Shots. And then they had a couple of downtimes and a couple of relaunches and that. And then every time they'd relaunch, Rod would email me and say, do you still want to post for us? Do you want the information? I'd always say yes. And I kept posting right through till it closed.
Absolutely. And for those who don't know, how did you meet your co-host, James Walsh?
I believe, correct me if I'm totally wrong, as I'm sure you will.
Okay.
I believe you instant messaged me just asking to chat, because you was another reporter on the news board, and you just saw one of my posts and got my information, and we just chatted.
Very cool. Very cool. So, what does the future hold for Mr. Daniel Edler?
Well, now you see, I'm at university.
Right.
When I bother going in. I'm at uni doing a computing degree, so that entails of a lot of hard work, which I haven't really started yet, so I better get my ass in gear. But that's going to be a lot of hard work, so I'm imagining I'll be here for the full 3 years doing that. In that time, hopefully to continue with the interactive interviews and three-stone wrestling, I hope. If any other internet projects come up, I'll probably run them, just for the sheer fact that if you like Jake said in our interview, you pay me, I'm a prostitute, you pay me, I'll do it. So, you give me the right amount of money and I'll do it for you. But, yeah, I imagine that'd be along the lines for the next 3 years. After that, God knows. I've come across the ideas of maybe entering the computing world, or I've thought of a couple of other ideas, such as policemen.
In terms of the interactive interview, sorry to cut you off again, but I'm just starting to lose you for a second there. In terms of the interactive interview, what has been your favorite moments thus far?
Favorite moment when I haven't been on the show has to be the New Jack bit.
Thanks a lot.
I'm just so glad that I wasn't here for it. And
you would have shit your pants if you were on that show, wouldn't you?
I don't know quite how I reacted. But I wouldn't have reacted too well. It wouldn't have helped the situation all that much.
You think you would have been angry?
I don't know necessarily. Not necessarily angry. Kind of worried that the interview would fall apart. Is more what I reckon. Other favourite moments. Pretty much most of the recaps I enjoy doing. I enjoy all the interviews except for one.
Except for one?
Yep.
What one would that be?
JV.
Okay.
I imagine I quite enjoyed the trying to think of a sweet moment. I really enjoyed the fact that we got to interview Mike Sanders. He was one of my personal favourites as a child. I'd like from WCW. If I liked a few people, Mike Sanders would be top. I like working with TNA, and the fact that with TNA we could call up and chat to people, get interviews like through them and stuff. I quite enjoyed that.
The memories.
I enjoyed most of the interviews, I'd say. None more so than each other. I wouldn't like to put them above each other. Except for a couple which I'd say are must-hears. What would be the first interview? I really did. I was worried. I'm just glad that we got the first interview done.
Who was our first interview?
Barry Bull Buchanan.
Wow.
And we had Buff Bagwell scheduled, and then we had Jimmy Hart scheduled, and it was all going wrong, and nothing was happening. And then I just said, okay, right. Well, I've got this one new number, Barry Buchanan. Bull Buchanan's just been released from WWE. We'd be the second interview to get him.
That there were a couple must-hear interviews. Would you mind telling us what you think are must-hear interviews?
Well, definitely the New Jack interview, even though I wasn't on it, has to be heard. It's a shame that Randy Savage has done so many interviews since, but his first interview on CI has got to be heard. Let me see. I think obviously our Jake the Snake interview is a simple must-hear.
Absolutely.
What people say. And a few of the other recent interviews. I'd suggest David Penza, even though he isn't a big name. It's still a great interview he gave. I really enjoyed that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I would have to agree. What future guests are you most looking forward to on TII?
Well, Chris Jericho has to be top.
Absolutely.
Definitely Chris. I'm also relatively looking forward to hopefully having Sanjay Dutt.
Sanjay Dutt, absolutely.
Maybe having him on the show. He'll be good.
Might not be good for the interview, but I see big things in the future for this kid, so that might be what we're talking about.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to him coming on the show.
Right.
Looking forward to the World NWA Tag Team Champions, or former, or whatever.
Depending on tonight, which starts in about a half hour, just while we're recording this. Yep.
Not sure who else, but those, yes, definitely those.
Okay. Very cool. So before we close up, you mind if we do word associations?
Yeah, let's go for it.
First name on the list is Jake Roberts.
Jake Roberts. Got a tremendous respect for him. He's way more philosophical than I ever thought, and hopefully look forward to working with him in the future.
Johnny Valiant.
Johnny Valiant. Tremendous performer. I hear his shows. I hear his West End Broadway show is brilliant. It's a shame he couldn't reproduce that in the interactive interview.
Bruno Sammartino.
Absolute legend. Really appreciate him taking his time out to come on the show. He was such a great person on the show that I really appreciate him coming on. And I haven't seen much. It's a shame that I haven't seen a whole lot of his work, but I hope to see. I'm hoping to look into tapes over Christmas, mainly with a lot of the older stuff on, such as himself.
How about Crash Holly?
A real loss to the world. He was. That's another must-hear interview on TII. He was such a fun, such a lively character. Really made the show interesting. I was absolutely shocked when you told me he was dead, and very saddened to hear it. So best wishes to all his family and friends, especially Stephen Richards, who's had an absolutely awful time since. He had that. He had 2 injuries on WWE television, and of course the death of his best friend, Michael Lockwood.
Right. How about Shawn Michaels?
Shawn Michaels, the showstopper, the Heartbreak Kid, Michael Shane's cousin. Excellent performer. It's a shame. I just feel he's maybe tarnished the respect I have to him in my eyes with the Montreal incident. But excluding that, the showstopper, the Heartbreak Kid, still puts on a great performance, as shown with the Survivor Series. And one day, I hope to have him on the show.
What about guys like Chris Yandick?
Chrissy. Yandik's cool. I've known Chris a long time. I've known him since when he used to have his interviews published on Wrestle Notes, which was back then was therocksays.com. He had his interviews published there, and as a young webmaster, I said to myself, "Is there any chance you want to post your interviews on my site?" And he said, "No, sorry, I'm now working with One Wrestling." I said, "Okay, no problem. Nice to meet you." Sort of thing. Hi. Spoke to him a few months later, just now and again, but he wasn't really giving me much of the time of day. Didn't really have much time for me back then.
Right.
Spoke to him, of course, when TII started. Asking for help, because he hooked me up a little bit when he messed up and I had the whole Honky Tonk Man British Beefcake incident. So he hooked me up then. He sorted me out. Said sorry. Cleared my name then. He's good lad. Got maybe the slightest ego problem, but someone who's managed to interview as many good people as him, such as like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Trish Stratus, etc. Someone that's interviewed as many people as that, you're going to expect it,
Right. I guess I would have a little bit of a big head as well.
Exactly.
How about? I forgot. Wow. How about you just mentioned him, Honky Tonk Man.
Wayne First, the greatest in the Continental Champ of all time, in his mind, and maybe a few people. I don't know, Wayne. Get the attitude problem sorted, first and foremost. You're living in the past. you're going to be on Jake's show, which is great. I might have a chance to run into you again, give you a piece of my mind. I don't know. We'll see what type of bloke you are in person.
All right. And how about finally? Oh, two more. Hulk Hogan.
Well, the first person I idolised when I started watching wrestling. I've since grown out of his matches. I've still got his autobiography to read. Haven't quite gotten around to that one yet. I'm not a big reader. But yeah, I'd say I put him and Andre as the first feud that I ever recall in my wrestling history.
And I said one more. I'm going to throw you one other one. Kid Cash.
The Mighty Midget.
All right, and one last one. This one I'm serious. This would be three more. This is the last one, I promise. Vince McMahon.
Absolute pure genius. The evil genius. The demon himself. On TV, he plays that role. Off television, he's a smart businessman when it comes to wrestling. He needs to keep his wallet out of other ventures, as proven by the XFL, the bodybuilding company, etc., etc. His money in wrestling, pump it into that.
Well, Dan.
Stars, and take it round in the cycle, back up to the top of his game, back up to the 7.0 ratings. Keep plugging away, and for God's sakes, get rid of Brian Garrett, get rid of Michael Hayes, get rid of Stephanie McMahon from your writing team, and put someone like Paul Heyman and people that know the business like Ric Flair. Put them sort of people in the booking meetings. And get rid of Triple H while you're at it. Get rid of him. That's not completely. Don't get rid of him completely. Get rid of him from any side of political aspect and booking influence, whatnot.
Hide the belt from him, basically. Right. Well, we can't really thank you enough for the time that you've given us today. I know you're a busy man with your busy schedule, but thank you for taking the time to be on the interactive interview.
No problem. I'm glad to say, yeah, just check out my website, which is 3strandwrestling.com and 3swforums.com. And hi, Mum.
Hi, Mom.
interactiveinterview.com.
Hello, Mommy. Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. And we'll be back for more from the interactive interview.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter. On Twitter at James Epicenter. And of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Wildcat Chris Harris from NWA TNA, one half of America's Most Wanted, and you're listening to the interactive interview with Dan Edler and James Walsh, the second best tag team in the world today.
Welcome back to the interactive interview. Great music there, linking us in between our first interview with myself, and now to continue the trend on the interactive interviews, statistically sponsored by ProWrestling.com, statistically the #1 wrestling website online. We have co-hosted the interactive interview, James Walsh. How you doing, James?
Oh, man, it's great to be here.
Before we start, can I ask you for a small favour?
What's that?
Will you bend down and take it? Will you please possibly do a small introduction, just saying like this is James Walsh and you're listening to the interactive interview?
Absolutely.
Would that be okay? You can add your own little touch to it if you want to do so.
Sure.
Whatever. Okay,
Sure.
so I count you down?
Yeah.
Right, we've got 5, 4, 3, 2...
Yay! this is James Walsh, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. Yay!
That was simply super. Thanks very much, Dan.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming on. I know you're a busy man, as most people are these days, but if you're a busy man, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We appreciate having you. The first question I'd really like to know is, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh, absolutely. Since I was 3 years old, man.
Yeah?
Since I was 3 years old, when I was downstairs, instead of being in my bed like I should have been, I was outlaw even then. I was downstairs in my living room flipping the channels, and I saw Hulk Hogan in the ring for the first time, and I guess this would be about 1984, so it must have been like right after he won the title. And I forget who he was wrestling. I think it might have been Rusty Brooks. And I was just looking at it, and just how larger than life his character was. I just was, even at 3 years old, I was sitting there, barely able to walk, and I'm doing the muscle pose. So I mean, ever since 3 years old, I've been stuck.
Excellent. I presume Hulk Hogan was one of your main favorites. So who were the other favorites as a child?
Well, Hulk Hogan was number one. To be honest with you, he still is. Other favorites. Randy Savage was a big favorite. Not sure how the internet will react to this, but I was a fan of the Ultimate Warrior at times. I just liked that, over-the-top character. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was a favorite. Never was a fan of Ric Flair, but we'll get into that later, I'm sure. Let's see. Terry Von Erich I liked, both as a modern-day warrior and Texas Tornado. There's a lot of them that I liked that are no longer with us. I was a big fan of the Road Warriors. Kurt Hennig. His agility was just unbelievable. Guys like that. All the old school guys, all the old, superstars. They were my favorites from the AWA and from the WWF.
Speaking of Hulk Hogan, of course, you're the man who's issued and put together one of the greatest Hulk Hogan collections ever. Do you want to speak about that a bit?
Sure. If you want to email me, I have put together a tape collection of Hulk Hogan's greatest matches. It's actually 20 tapes, each 6 to 8 hours in length. You can buy them for me. It's a great Christmas gift. Asking for about $100 for each, plus shipping, so they're about $120. Pretty great offer, I think.
Indeed. How many tapes? 20 tapes?
Yeah. It starts back in the 1978. When Hogan was wrestling for the NWA title, ironically enough.
And when was it most updated till?
To Jimmy Hart showing up in TNA.
Ah, right.
I actually have his match from Japan against Masachono on there as well. From October 13th of this year. So it's all the way through. You got Andre's matches with Andre on there. You got his WCW career with the NWO, his matches with Goldberg. You got everything on there. You got everything back to his matches with the Macho Man back in the WWF, the entire thing with Liz, the Earthquakes incident, the match with the Ultimate Warrior, I mean, his feud with Ted DiBiase, it's all on there. It all goes in date order as well, starting with 78, ending with 2003.
Excellent. How long did that take you to compile when you first started it?
Well, I broke up with my girlfriend in about November of 2002, and I sat down, and literally I didn't sleep for a couple of weeks. I guess it was my way of coping. And I sat down and didn't sleep for a couple of weeks, and that got about half of it done. And then when I finally decided that the black circles around my eyes were becoming too noticeable, I slept a little bit, and I guess I finished it about January. But I worked almost night and day on it for about 2 months.
Moving on to a different topic, most people will know that, of course, your email address is the Glam Slam King of Noise, AOL.com, and you are a big rock music and just music in general fan.
Right.
Who are some of your favourite bands, and who are some of the ones you dislike the most?
The ones I dislike the most are probably the ones you like the most, so I'm not going to get into that. But my favorite bands, I'll just go by the ones I've seen in concert recently. Poison, 2002 I saw them, 2001 I saw them, 2000 I saw them, 1999 I saw them. I mean, I've seen them every year that they've come around. I didn't see them this year because they didn't come near Arizona. Problem with the promoters here, but they couldn't come out. Poison's a big favorite. Warrant, Whitesnake, Kiss, of course. Everybody knows I'm the biggest Kiss fan. Classic Def Leppard and a couple new songs off X are pretty good. Let's see. classic Bon Jovi. They just released an album that I'm very disappointed in. That so what's left is just feels right or something like that. It's just horrible. They redo all their classics, but they really destroy them. So I'm angry with them at the moment. But I'm from New Jersey, so I have to be a Bon Jovi fan. Let's see, Warrant, Whitesnake, Slaughter is a favorite. Winger with the band is a favorite. Twisted Sister, of course. Alice Cooper, Cinderella, Love Hate, Rat, LA Guns. Yeah, keep going. You get the point. I think you get the point.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely get the point. If you could interview one band or member, just one member of a band, or one single artist, or one musician on this show, who would it be and why?
I guess it would be Paul Stanley, simply because if I had to create an alter ego for myself, as all the Kiss members did, I think I'd be him. I know most people think they'd be Gene Simmons. Personally, I'd be Paul Stanley because I'm just that. He's larger than life in that like rock star, don't take things seriously kind of way, and I've always related to him most of all of the Kiss characters. If I had to choose somebody that wasn't like with Kiss, or somebody that's more feasible to get, it would probably be Jizzy Pearl, who's now the lead singer of Rat, was the lead singer of LA Guns for a little while, and was the original lead singer for Love Hate. Love that guy. I like his politics. I like a lot of things he says. He's just a pretty intense character.
A couple of random questions to ask you in the middle of the interview. Your opinion on leather jackets?
Oh, I love the leather jackets. Actually, it's getting cold out here, so at night I get to wear mine, so I get happy.
And your opinion on the Kama Sutra?
Kama Sutra. Don't really have an opinion.
No?
Not really. Kama Sutra. I'm trying to remember in my mind what that is. Oh, okay. It's fine. I mean, no problem with it. Nothing. No one way or the other about it.
At what point in your life did you turn from just being a wrestling fan into someone who wanted to comment on the wrestling or using the internet as a tool to do so?
I got on the internet when I was 15, and I still have an AOL account, Hogan NWO 15, that people probably thought I was, probably still think I'm 15, but I was 8 years ago that I got on. Jesus, where did the time go? It wasn't 8 years ago. It was 7 years ago, because the NWO just started. Where was I? Okay, so while there, I was reading all these posts, and for those who don't know, I always accuse the internet of being very much Flair territory. And the joke I've always made on the forums was the internet, actually I word this. The internet journalists that you see today were living in trailer parks, and for somehow they got computers, and they're the ones who put over Flair as hard as they do. I personally am not impressed by Ric Flair, and I've said that before. So I was reading one of these forums things. It was actually it was a newsletter, and don't ask me what it was. It might have been Wild House of Wrestling or some wild thing like that. I heard it was a pretty rare thing, so I wrote this article after reading somebody blasting Hogan and saying, well, Ric Flair has always been better or something like that, and Ric Flair was nothing at the time. If I recall, Ric Flair might have been the U.S. champion, and Hogan was a world champion. So, anyway, what was I saying? I wrote this article, basically talking about the meaning of the word icon, and how they could say what they want. Bottom line is, if you go to 100 people in the supermarket and say, who's Hulk Hogan, they're going to know. If you go to 100 people in the supermarket and ask who Ric Flair is, I think maybe 20% would know. So, basically, I just wrote an article like that. I got death threats from it. And I thought, wow, I like this. So, like I said, I'm a little sadistic about it, so I decided to go for it.
Of course, you mentioned to me Chair Shots, but how did you become involved with Chair Shots?
Chair Shots Radio, let's think. I always listened to the show. I listened to the show for a long time, back to when they had Nova on in 2000. And I finally got up the nerve after they interviewed Bobby Heenan, or maybe it was before then, somewhere around there, to ask if they needed any help on the message board. Not the message board, but the news board. Basically, I used my connection at the time with Francine, that I said I'd probably get a text-based interview with her that I can use, that you guys can use. They gave me that. I got the text-based interview. I posted it on the chat on the Chair Shots area. Rod was very impressed, and basically he let me have my account there. I still remember my password. James Walsh, and my password was TNA. It doesn't watch. It'll come back tomorrow, and everybody's going to be using my account.
Yeah. Since working with Chair Shots, what did you do in between your time there and when you met me and we started the interactive interview?
Started my own radio thing, and it was with a guy named Ben Turpin, a guy named Stuart Cooper. Stuart Cooper was on our TNA anniversary show. He helped us do the intro for that, since you weren't available at the time.
Oh, yes.
I'm losing my voice as we're talking.
Yes, you are, yeah.
What was I saying? So I started out with those guys, and our first guest, my idea for the name of the show was Trinity Radio. And the next week, guess who appears on NWA TNA for the first time?
Trinity.
Right. So for some reason I didn't change the name, and I had her on. She was actually the first guest. So it was Trinity Radio, please welcome Trinity. And it was quite odd, I thought. Anyway, because the reason why is Trinity means Versa 3, and Stuart, Ben, and I had very different ideas about wrestling, and basically about the idea of the show. I wanted to keep it going straight, and they wanted to go different directions with it. I wanted to basically to be what I've turned this show into, which means I get to play my music, but we keep it mostly wrestling-based. Ultimately, Trinity called me one day, said, "Are we ready to do the interview?" I said, "Yeah." I instant messaged the guy, and I called him up. He wouldn't answer the phone. This happened about 3 times. She and I started talking, eventually became friends. I got fed up with him. We finally got the interview done. I booked Larry Zbyszko, and these guys decided they don't want to be involved in it anymore. Stewart probably would have wanted to do Larry, but Ben Turpin did not. Something happened. I went out, I bought myself my recording equipment. Did Larry Zbyszko on my own. I don't remember exactly the sequence of events, but we started talking to each other more and more. You had the idea to do the forums thing where we can post their response for them over the phone. I said we could do that, but I think it would be cool if we could post the audio as well. It took a little chipping away, but you finally agreed to it, and here we are.
Indeed. When you first met me, what was your first impression of me?
Well, I told you the first time I emailed you, I think I cursed you off because I was so, frustrated with everything that was going on with WCW, and it just was venting. I'm glad that you don't remember that. I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot by admitting it. Okay. Basically, your name just was on every website. It was like you and Fred Cook were everywhere. And I was wondering who this Daniel Edler was. I guess it was dyslexia or something because I couldn't figure out that it was Edler, not Elder. But eventually honestly, once I started working with you, I realized I made the right decision by dumping the other guys, coming with you guys. I'm coming with you, so, put you over, you're the best partner I could ask for.
And I agree, because, of course, leading on to my next question would be about the rest of his forums, and a lot of people say to me, well, why do you stick with James? Why do you choose James as your partner? I mean, you could choose a load of people. Why him? He occasionally says the wrong things. He doesn't like to go by the rules. He's a bit of a rebel, etc. Why him? And because the simple answer's got to be, he's the best co-host I could choose, because he loves doing the bits that I hate. I love doing the bits that you hate. We complement each other so well.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you.
No problems. Of course, mentioning 3SW forums, you've had a small bust up with a couple of people. Shane Cooper, of course, who can't unfortunately be on this show, just scheduling conflicts between us and himself.
Creed fan, for those who don't know.
Yeah, Creed fan. The one and only. Has sent in some questions for me to ask.
Oh boy.
He'd love to have them had to set himself in his own little section.
Hold on one segment. Yeah, go ahead.
But unfortunately, it's impossible. So, the first question is, how does it feel knowing you've been banned more times than Ravel, the most banned poster on 3SWforums.com?
Feels great.
Number 2 has... Oh, okay. Number 2 is many people have a lot of hard feelings for you. Your message to them?
Get over it, man. I can elaborate on that, but I don't know if I have to. I'll admit the first time that I came on there, I had a bad attitude. But my idea was to be the heel, and there's a couple people I stepped on that I continuously apologized to, both on and off the forums. That was Kelly and Rick Bear, Rick Clark, of course. I apologized to them endlessly. Second time on the forums, I honestly don't recall why I was banned. I think it had something to do with the remarks that I made into Asylum, which I apologized for. Other than that, I really don't know why I was banned. I'm sure you can tell me, but I don't really want to know. And I'm back again, and I don't plan on being banned this time. I mean, I've had a chance to flame a couple people, and I've had some good lines rolling around in my head. But since I'm trying to convince to somebody very special to me that I'm not the James that they saw on the forums,
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna, play by the rules a little bit better. Okay.
yeah, that's fine. Sorry. One if you're still talking about. The third question that Shane sent in. I'd like to know your favourite and least favourite posters from 3SW forums.
Favorites. Believe it or not, favorite in terms of content, Asylum. He posted that great Four Horsemen thing a couple months ago. He continues to post the best pictures that I've seen. I also like Franchise. He posts a lot of great stuff. For different reasons, Rick Bear and Kelly are great posters. Creed Fan is a great poster. He participates a lot. WILF or WTLF, I can't remember which one. He's fun to read. Least favorite should be... Least favorite would have to be... Thinking. Probably every customer welcome and dysfunction. Mostly because they're the ones who just won't let me go. Hitman gets on my freaking nerves. Let's see. Anybody else? Pooch used to get on my nerves, now it doesn't bother me. Brucifer used to get on my nerves, now it doesn't bother me. There's a couple people that used to bother me that I just don't care about anymore. Or that have changed and do a decent job now. But basically my favorites would have to be, in terms of content, would be Franchise and Asylum.
Okay, those are the questions from Shane. Hope you're okay with them answers there, Shane. The questions continue from me. What's your favourite interview that you've done with me?
With you? Believe it or not, I'm going to say Randy Savage, Francine, or Rob Van Dam.
Any particular reasons why?
Randy Savage, like I said, he was one of my favorites growing up. Plus, he put us over.
Mm-hmm.
When he said that thing about, you guys really know what you're talking about or something like that, I was, wow, that's so freaking cool. Francine, I just thought it was a great interview. There's no special reason there, I just thought it was a good interview. What was the other one that I said?
Rob Van Dam.
Rob Van Dam, anytime you can get a WWE superstar on your show, that's pretty good. And if you can get it for 40 minutes instead of just the usual 10 minutes, that was great.
Also, I'd like to know your least favourite interview.
Oh, I also want to throw Christopher Daniels in there. I thought we meshed perfectly on that one. Didn't step on each other once.
And your least favourite interview and why?
Thinking. I've enjoyed most of them. I can't say that I've not enjoyed any. I can say that there are some people that I wish I didn't interview or put over as much as I did on an interview. That would be Trinity. Interviews that I didn't like. I wasn't a fan of... What interview wasn't I a fan of? I can't recall. There was a couple that I wasn't a fan of. I can't recall which one. But I thought they were okay, but I didn't think they were as great as what they could have been. Glenn Gilberti was one.
Mm.
He didn't give as much as I think he could have.
In the future, what guests would you like to see on the interactive interview? Excluding Hulk Hogan.
I was going to say Hulk Hogan. I'd like to have Hulk Hogan on the show, very much so. I'd like to have Lex Luger on the show. I know that'll never happen, but I think if we got him, we do make some noise. I'd like to try to get Sting again. See how much trouble we get in this time. Let's see. Chris Jericho. I'd enjoy talking about music with him. Hopefully he'll be in a good mood. Maybe Kurt Angle. And other legends. You never know. Ricky Steamboat, I'm doing something with him right now. At the end, who knows? He could be on the show and he could give us a great interview. So there's a lot of guys out there that I really want to interview. Missy Hyatt is upcoming, courtesy of Francine, which I have to give her a big thanks for that. She's going to come up and she's going to be a very controversial interview. Anytime she opens her mouth, it's a good thing. Wow, did I say that?
Mm-hmm, you did.
Okay. Okay.
And I want to know, roll into the word association.
Okay.
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, overrated. I think he's impressive for the way he wrestles, especially at his age. And I think he bounces around pretty good, even for his age. And I know even in the past. But the problem was, he was non-stop, non-psychology. He always was. I know everybody's going to yell at me for saying that. But the guy wrestled the same match, every match. There was no psychology to it. It was just him bouncing around, flopping around for an hour. If you've seen one Ric Flair match, you've seen them all.
Sinclair.
Wow. That's a hard one. Nothing personal against her. She's done a couple things to people that I've interviewed that I've been unsure about. I find her very attractive. I found talking to her on the phone very interesting. I've seen a couple of her movies. They're very nice, I must say. But overall, I think she has to mature a little bit.
Macho Man.
Ooh, yeah! He's the man, brother. Uh-huh. Dig it. Something, something, something. As Jake said. As Jake said.
Francine.
Oh. Wow.
Pardon?
I said, wow.
I thought you said her.
No. I would not say that. No. If I'm going to be totally honest with you, she's an acquaintance, not a friend, an acquaintance, somebody I've talked to on and offline occasionally, very occasionally. If I can be graphic for a minute, probably the best backside on the planet.
Jake Roberts.
Wow, what can you say? The interview he gave us was just amazing. Big fan of his psychology. I actually implemented a lot of the way he talks and the way he thinks about wrestling into my strategy. And if you read my posts lately, both on the 3SW forums and on the MLW forums, I implement a lot of his psychology because you know what? He's right.
And Bob Ryder.
Always liked him on WCW Live. Was a father figure to my former fiance for a little while there. Her name, if you were a fan of WCW Live, was DB. Real name was Heather Casey. He was nice to her. I'll always be grateful for him to that because she never had that kind of father figure. I don't think he valued her as much as she valued him. In recent weeks, I've lost a little respect for him.
MLW.
Ass backwards.
NWA TNA.
Rocket ship waiting to take off. I just hope I'm on board.
And finally, the final one I'm going to throw at you. Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon is to wrestling as KFC is to chicken. think about that? That's not necessarily a compliment.
Well, thank you for your time today, James.
Well, thank you, Daniel. Anytime. And if you ever want to have me on the show again...
Would you be willing?
Yes, sure, absolutely.
How about the next show, and what about the one after that?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Could I possibly borrow you for, say, the next 50 shows?
Sure.
Yeah, would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me.
Okay, good to see you, and we'll see you for the next 50 shows.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, and you've been listening to the Interactive Interview. Stay tuned for more, for talk sections with some of our listeners that have been here for the past 50 shows, the past 49 shows with us. Enjoy.
Okay.
Basic things the wife is missing. Didn't ask for her permission. I'm wearing her clothes, her silk pantyhose, walking around in women's underwear. In the store, there's a teddy with little straps like spaghetti. It holds me so tight, like handcuffs at night, walking around in women's underwear.
In the office there's a guy named Melvin. He pretends that I am Murphy Brown.
He'll say, are you ready? We'll say, whoa, man. Let's wait until the wife is out of town. Later on, if you wanna, we can dress like Madonna. Put on some high shade and join the parade. Walking around in women's underwear. Lacy things, missing, didn't ask permission. Wearing her clothes, silk pantyhose, walking around in women's underwear. Walking around in women's underwear. Walking around in women's underwear.
Welcome back to the holiday edition, I guess we would call it, of the Interactive Interview, celebrating both our anniversary and our, what the hell is it, Thanksgiving. I'm talking to two British people, so they don't have